It is January 1995. A nervous man wins $100,000 at Bally's Park Place Casino in Atlantic City. Casino staff are suspicious. He is wearing a hearing aid. He is too calm. What nobody knows is that he is collecting on behalf of Ron Harris, the man the Nevada Gaming Control Board trusted to protect every machine in Las Vegas. Bally's Park Place Casino rarely saw a reaction like this. A man steps up to the keno counter, hands trembling just enough to notice, yet his eyes are steady. The payout is 6 figures, $100,000, enough to trigger every alarm in the building. Casino staff study him for tells, a nervous tick, a slip of the tongue, a flash of excitement or fear. But he is calm, too calm. He wears a hearing aid, but when the cashier asks for his ID and room number, he does not hesitate. No celebration, no calls to family, no sign of shock. Just a silent nod and a request for the winnings to be sent to his room. Behind the scenes, managers gather in hushed circles. The win is legitimate on paper, but something feels off. The man's composure, the way he blends in, the hearing aid that never seems to pick up a word. Security replays surveillance tapes, looking for a partner, a signal, a glitch, anything to explain how a stranger could walk in and beat the odds so completely. January 1995. The casino's internal logs record the payout, but no one can explain the winner's confidence. No one sees the invisible line drawn between this quiet man and a name that never appears on the paperwork. Ron Harris, the man trusted to safeguard the entire system. The man who, from thousands of miles away, just collected $100,000 without ever setting foot on the floor. Suspicion lingers, but the case file remains open. The real story is buried deeper beneath layers of code, access, and betrayal. Las Vegas, 1989. The numbers behind the neon told their own story. Over 100,000 slot machines blinked and whirred across Nevada, drawing in tourists and locals alike. Each machine, whether tucked into a smoky bar or lined up on a casino floor, averaged $200 to $300 in daily revenue. Multiply that by every machine, every day, and the annual take soared past $30 billion. The lifeblood of the city flowed through these circuits, each spin a microtransaction feeding a billion-dollar industry. With so much at stake, the state demanded absolute control. The Nevada Gaming Control Board needed someone who understood the new world of microprocessors and digital code, a guardian who could see through the circuits and catch what the eye missed. That year, they hired Ron Harris as chief computer specialist. He was the man entrusted to protect the entire system. His job was to inspect, verify, and defend the machines that powered the city's fortunes. Every casino, from the Strip's palaces to the smallest outpost, fell under his watch. Harris's authority extended far beyond the casino floor. He had access to the heart of the machines, EEPROM chips, payout tables, and the software that governed every outcome. His signature on an inspection report meant a machine was safe, fair, and legal. The integrity of Nevada's gaming economy rested on his expertise. No one questioned the man with the badge and the master key. No one imagined the risk that came from placing a single gatekeeper in charge of a billion-dollar system. Inside every slot machine from that era, the logic began with a single board. At its center, a microprocessor, usually a 6502 or Motorola 6809, ran at a clock speed barely rivaling a digital watch. The processor's job was to coordinate every action from coin acceptance to the final payout. But the real memory of the machine lived in 2 paired EEPROM chips, mounted side by side in their sockets. These chips stored the entire operating code, the payout tables, the reel mapping, the odds for every spin. No spin happened without their say-so. During a regulatory inspection, the process was clinical. Inspectors powered down the machine, unscrewed the motherboard cover, and carefully extracted both EEPROMs. Each chip was then slotted into a dedicated reader, an unremarkable gray box wired to a laptop or standalone terminal. The inspector would run a line-by-line hex comparison, matching the code on the casino floor against the manufacturer's certified master. Any mismatch, any stray byte, meant the machine failed. Only a perfect match passed the test. Stepper motors controlled the physical reels. Each motor responded to pulse commands from the processor, stopping at precise intervals defined by the code. The mapping between a random number and a reel stop was hardwired into the firmware. Even the payout meters and tilt sensors reported their status through the motherboard, every event logged and timestamped. The slot machine interface board tracked serial data, coin in, coin out, door opens, feeding a steady stream to the control board for audit. Harris understood every trace left behind by a technician, every anomaly in a checksum, every click of a stepper motor. He spoke the language of the machine, its patterns and its silences. No regulator before him had ever wielded this level of technical fluency or access. American Coin Enterprises was a small operator, but the damage it left behind was anything but minor. In the early 1990s, more than 500 video poker machines scattered across Nevada bars and truck stops held a secret. Hidden in their code was a line that blocked royal flushes and top jackpots, stealing every dream hand, 1 quarter at a time. Over 3 years, the fraud siphoned off $17 million, vanishing into the margins of nightly receipts. The machines passed every inspection. No one noticed until the losses piled too high to ignore. The man behind the code was Larry Volk, a programmer with a family and a quiet life. When the gaming control board closed in, Volk didn't run. He agreed to meet an agent in a diner on the edge of town. The confession came over coffee. Volk admitted to writing the code, and he said he had done it under pressure from American Coin's owners. He promised to testify, hoping for protection. His wife started getting phone calls, threats. She begged him to leave town, but he stayed. One night, as he stepped out of his car in his driveway, a figure waited in the dark. The shot was close, deliberate. Volk died before the ambulance arrived. No witnesses, no arrests. The case file gathered dust. The machines were quietly pulled from service. American Coin faced no charges. The message was clear. In this world, knowledge could be fatal. For those tasked with guarding the system, the cost of betrayal was measured not just in money, but in blood. After the American Coin scandal, Nevada's regulators faced a reckoning. The old inspection routines, predictable and infrequent, had failed to catch a multi-million-dollar fraud. In response, the Gaming Control Board rolled out a new policy, the Random Inspection Program. No warning, no pattern. Inspectors would appear on casino floors at any hour, demanding immediate access to machines. The goal was airtight oversight, but the effect was something else entirely. Ron Harris became the program's architect and its enforcer. He drafted the policy language, set the technical standards, and trained the inspection teams. But when it came to the most sensitive equipment, the EPROM readers, the checksum laptops, the master code archives, custody belonged to one man. Harris alone transported the tools from the state vault to the field. He logged the serial numbers, sealed the cases, and signed the chain of custody forms. No one else handled the devices without his approval. Statewide, the program authorized surprise audits on tens of thousands of machines. Inspectors would break the seal on a slot's motherboard, remove the EPROM chips, and run a code comparison against the certified original. Harris's signature on the report was the final word. If he certified a machine, the casino had no recourse. His expertise was considered unimpeachable. The reforms were meant to close every loophole. Instead, they concentrated power in a single office. Harris's authority stretched from the warehouse to the casino floor, from the audit logs to the firmware itself. The man trusted to guard the system now held the keys to every lock. No one questioned the wisdom of giving one specialist complete control over the tools that determined the fate of Nevada's billion-dollar machines. Ron Harris's method began with a single, silent intrusion. During a routine audit, he removed the EPROM chips from a Bally E-series slot, just as the rules required. The official process called for a byte-for-byte comparison against the manufacturer's master code. But Harris's laptop was not just a verifier. With a few keystrokes, he injected a small string of hex, barely a dozen bytes, into the machine's firmware. The change left no visible trace. Checksum routines still passed. The code appeared clean to every tool but his own. He mapped each altered device in a private ledger, cross-referencing serial numbers with casino floor locations. Over time, nearly 500 machines across Nevada were added to his list. Each one carried a hidden trigger, a precise sequence of coins. 3, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Entered in order, the pattern forced the reels to land on a payout, regardless of odds or prior play. The jackpot was not random. It was engineered. Harris tested his work in the field, always alone, always clinical. He kept the wins small, a few $100s at a time, to avoid detection. Each machine reset to normal after the cheat. No audit, no surveillance review, no technician ever found the altered bytes. The slots continued to rake in their daily revenue, untouched except for the rare moment someone knew the code. The operation was invisible by design. But to turn theory into money, Harris needed someone to stand at the machine and pull the handle, someone without a badge, a record, or a reason to be noticed. Reed McNeil moved through Nevada's casinos like a shadow. He never drew attention, never gambled for pleasure, never lingered at the bar. His name appeared on no internal watch lists. His face never raised a flag on surveillance. The first machine paid out in October 1992. $119,000 in crisp bills were paid, split across 3 locations in one night. The win looked clean, the paperwork flawless. McNeil accepted the payout with the same blank composure every time. No celebration, no pattern of return. He left the state before the shift changed. Over the next 2 years, McNeil's routine became almost mathematical. He followed a strict rotation, never hitting the same casino twice in a season, never playing more than 1 machine per property. The jackpots were modest by Vegas standards, just enough to avoid triggering mandatory reports, always under the radar. Each payout was the result of a precise coin sequence entered without hesitation. 3 coins, then 1, 2, 3, 4. The reels spun, the lights flashed, and the jackpot dropped as if by chance. To the pit bosses and floor managers, McNeil was just another out-of-town visitor. His demeanor was unremarkable, his story forgettable. He traveled alone, paid in cash, checked out before noon. The winnings never stayed in Nevada. Harris tracked every hit in a private ledger, timing each move to coincide with random inspection cycles, always one step ahead of any audit. By the end, nearly 500 machines across the state had been compromised. The final slot hit came in January 1995. Years of exploitation, and not a single alarm tripped. The system had been robbed from the inside, and no one noticed until it was already over. Keno was never meant to be predictable. Each draw, a cascade of numbers, was supposed to be governed by chance, an algorithm running deep inside the casino's system, invisible to players and regulators alike. But for Ron Harris, randomness was just another problem to solve. The slot machine cheat had run its course. The old tricks, EPROM swaps and secret coin sequences, relied on physical access and left too many traces. Harris needed a method that did not depend on hardware, one that could operate from anywhere, without ever touching the machine. He found it in the mathematics of the Keno random number generator. Casino Keno terminals used a simple linear congruential formula, a type of pseudo-random sequence that could be reverse engineered with enough prior results. Harris spent months gathering data, feeding hundreds of past draws into his own software, hunting for patterns buried in the output. With enough historical numbers, his algorithm could predict the next set with uncanny accuracy. No tampered chips, no altered code, just pure calculation. The potential payout dwarfed anything from the slot scheme. One correct prediction could bring in $100,000 or more in a single hit. The risk was different, less about being caught at the machine, more about being detected by patterns in the winds. Harris became the strategist, orchestrating the play from a distance, transmitting numbers to his frontman with clinical precision. The scam no longer depended on the vulnerabilities of hardware, but on a weakness at the heart of the game's design. The move to Keno marked a new level of sophistication, one that pointed the finger not at a broken machine, but at the man who understood the system better than anyone else. The winning Keno numbers, 4, 12, 22, 36, 46, 53, 57, and 71, flashed across the screen at Bally's Park Place. The payout was $100,000. Security teams converged on the floor, eyes locked on the man whose ticket matched every draw. He did not smile. He did not flinch. He handed over his ID and waited for the cashier to process the claim. Surveillance operators scanned every recorded angle, searching for a signal, a partner, a slip. The hearing aid, the lack of celebration, the precise timing, each detail raised more questions than answers. Casino management called in law enforcement. The winner's room was placed under watch. Behind the scenes, phone lines lit up between Atlantic City and Nevada. The pattern of wins, the calculated demeanor, the absence of any visible connection to known cheats, everything pointed to something deeper, something engineered. The digital trail led back to Las Vegas, to the man who had written the inspection protocols and understood every flaw in the system. Ron Harris, sensing the walls closing in, booked a flight out of Atlantic City. He moved quickly, but not quickly enough. At the Las Vegas airport, officers waited at the gate. Harris was taken into custody without a struggle. The evidence included cheat code, machine records, and Keno prediction software, and it left no room for doubt. The investigation unraveled 3 years of undetected fraud, more than 500 compromised machines, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in illicit winnings. A system had been betrayed from within. In June 1996, Harris stood before a judge. The sentence was 7 years in prison. His name was entered into Nevada's Black Book, forever barred from every casino in the state. The man trusted to guard the system became its most sophisticated criminal, brought down by the same vigilance he once enforced. Today, Nevada's gaming industry runs on code, written by unseen hands. Millions are at stake, trust assumed. Oversight imperfect. As casino systems grow more complex, the threat is not outside, but within. The name Ron Harris is etched in the Black Book. The man entrusted to protect became the architect of betrayal. What happens next depends on who is watching the watchers.